This is Mark Tronson from the Australian Missionary News. I have here today Mark Brolly at the Australasian Religious Press Association Annual Conference. Now Mark, tell us something about your growing up years.
Well, I'm living where I grew up in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, in Pascoe Vale, about halfway between the city and the airport. Really good area, very convenient, and very happy there. And it was a terrific place to grow up, with a really good family background and good parish life and good community life. So I very much enjoy it and enjoy it still.
And mum and dad are siblings?
I have one sibling. Mum and dad have both passed away, mum many, many years ago. One sister who lives in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, and she has 3 kids, and they're very special to me.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Now, tell us something about just your high school years.
Yeah, I went to the Christian Brothers, having been taught in primary school by the Mercy Sisters. I was put into the tender mercies of the Christian Brothers at Pascoe Vale in North Melbourne, and was very lucky in my school years. The studies were good and enjoyable. And they even tried to help me out with science and maths, which I was no good at, but certainly loved history and religious studies and English and politics, and I was very, very lucky right through school years pretty much. I mean, very lucky with the teachers.
Now what's this thing about It's Academic?
Oh, okay. There was a program on, many people from the 70s may remember a program called It's Academic, and they used to film it at the old HSV Teletheatre in Johnson Street, Fitzroy. And I was a reserve on that. Wasn't good enough to make the main team, but a reserve. And it was fascinating watching it being put together. And I remember we did okay in it, and I got a book on gemstones, which I still have at home. There's a sort of a memoir from it, but yeah.
And so that may have given you a bit of an interest just in the media?
I don't think so. Not so much that. It was just a great experience, a great life experience.
Okay.
I had that before then. I was interested in newspapers.
Sure, okay.
I think because of the history thing.
Now tell me something about your post-high school life.
Well, I went into journalism, got a cadetship in journalism, and studied at RMIT and Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, and did a Bachelor of Arts there, and did a cadetship at the Age newspaper in Melbourne. And as cadets, you had to cover all sorts of things: courts and police rounds and sport and wherever you really were sent. And it was a terrific grounding, and I wouldn't swap it for quids. And so I was there for 6.5 years, and then went to Western Australia as a lay missionary with the Palatines, a Catholic religious order, working in a hostel for Aboriginal students from remote parts of WA, the Kimberley, the Pilbara, and then some parts closer to Perth, like the Midwest and, you know, the Murchison, those sorts of places. And that was a terrific experience. 2 years over there in the mid-80s.
So you came back to Melbourne then?
Came back to Melbourne.
Okay, now that leads me into my next question about your journalism.
Well, I was back to journalism after that, got back to the Age, but then mainly from then on at the Age it was subbing, although I did religious affairs reporting about 18 months after I returned. But in the meantime, I'd come back from Perth really hungry for study, and I decided that I really needed to beef up my theological sort of knowledge. And so I went to the United Faculty of Theology, an ecumenical faculty, which was a terrific experience and really providential in more ways than one. And it really exposed me to the full range of Christian traditions and took me outside my own, which helped my own, but also was a very positive thing.
And so what's going on now?
Okay, I was at the Age for many, many years. As I say, after I left religious affairs mainly as a sub, I took redundancy from them 3 years ago, almost, and got a job soon after with the Anglicans in Melbourne, the Melbourne Anglican newspaper and the website there. Where
and so that's why they're doing so well now.
I don't know about that. Maybe doing well despite me, I think. Yeah, that might be the thing. So I've been part-time there until very recently, and then I write for a Catholic paper in London called The Tablet, which is a very old and distinguished paper. And write in Australia for them, and do a couple of subbing shifts at the Herald and Weekly Times.
Wow. Well,
so it's a full life.
Mark Brolly, this has been a fascinating little chat. Now, this is Mark Tronson signing off for the Australian Missionary News.